Lecture 21, turning from what is race to what is gender. Let me remind you of Sally Haslanger's project. It's not descriptive, it's revisionary, although the analyses I offer, she says, will point to existing social kinds, and this is no accident. I am not prepared to defend the claim that these social kinds are what our race and gender talk is really about. My priority in this inquiry is not to capture what we do mean, but how we might usefully revise what we mean for certain theoretical and political purposes. And a reminder of her revisionary definition of the word woman: S is a woman if and only if S is systematically subordinated along some dimension, and S is marked as a target for this treatment by observed or imagined bodily features presumed to be evidence of a female's biological role in reproduction. And of course, there's a similar one for man. Given that her project is not descriptive, that is, she's not interested in telling us what women are, but rather how we should use the word woman going forward, she has an easy response to apparent counterexamples to her view. I believe it is part of the project of feminism to bring about a day when there are no more women, although of course we should not aim to do away with females. I'm happy to admit that there could be females who aren't women in the sense I've defined, but these individuals, or possible individuals, are not counterexamples to the analysis. The analysis is intended to capture a meaningful political category for critical feminist efforts, and non-oppressed females do not fall within that category, though they may be interesting for other reasons. Here are two questions which all this naturally prompts. First, this is a question for you: how might Haslanger's proposed terminological shift in the meaning of woman and man help her political goals? And second, setting aside the revisionary project, what is the answer to the descriptive question, what is a woman or a man, etc.? And Elizabeth Barnes discusses that second question. Just contrasting Barnes and Haslanger, so Haslanger is offering a proposal about how we should use words like woman, a normative theory of gender, if you like. You can look up normativity in the glossary. Whereas Barnes discusses various accounts of what women are, descriptive theories of gender. To repeat a point I made last time, the word gender in Barnes' technical sense refers to the categories woman, man, among others. The categories female and male are not genders in this sense. Barnes starts her paper by describing some characters, Amma, Ben, Chia, and Dina, and then asks, what does it really mean to be a woman? Is it a matter of how you think about yourself, of how others treat you, of your personality, of what your body is like? People disagree about which of Amma, Ben, Chia, and Dina are really women, and they disagree about which of them belong in women-only spaces, like a woman's bathroom. Since bathrooms have come up, I should add a note about them. So the present question is, what is a woman? Understood as a request for non-trivial, necessary and sufficient conditions, you can look that up in the glossary, for being a woman. The answer, if indeed there is one, does not settle issues about who gets to use women's bathrooms. So, for example, uncontroversially, some women, perhaps those women carrying typhoid fever, should not be allowed to use women's bathrooms. And also, uncontroversially and conversely, some non-women, e.g. small boys, should be and are allowed to use women's bathrooms. The connection between our question what is a woman or what is it to be a woman, and matters of bathroom access is at best highly indirect. I should add another clarificatory note, this time about chromosomes, since they often come up in these discussions. Do not confuse being female with having XX chromosomes. So many females of other species do not have any XX chromosomes, or even sex chromosomes of any kind. Remember, how is the gender of some reptiles determined by temperature from last time? Having XX chromosomes usually causes humans and other mammals, the XXXY system is the mammalian sex determination system. It usually causes them to develop as female, but there are many other routes to the same end. And on the standard biological account, females are the ones with body plans suitable for producing large gametes or sex cells. Eggs and males are the ones with body plans suitable for producing small gametes or sex cells, sperm. Remember from last time that some animals, e.g. snails, have both body plans. They produce both small and large gametes, and so they're both male and female. And uncontroversially, human males can have XX chromosomes, although this is very rare, and human females can lack XX chromosomes. For instance, there's a condition called Turner syndrome, where the person has just one X chromosome, or one entire X chromosome and a partial second X chromosome. These people are uncontroversially female. We can recapitulate our questions about race in the case of gender. Are gender categories biological? Are gender categories social? And finally, a question that neither Haslanger nor Barnes discuss. They both clearly think the answer is no. Are gender categories empty? We don't have an argument in the readings for the conclusion that there are no women or that there are no men, although this has certainly been taken seriously by some theorists. It would be a good exercise to adapt our argument that there are no American Indians, Asians, Pacific Islanders, and so on, to the case of gender. So have a go at adapting this argument into one with the conclusion that there are no women or men. And then ask, is the adapted argument better or worse, more convincing or less convincing than the original one? Let's now turn to biological theories of gender. Is there a broadly biological category that we could plausibly identify with the category woman? Well, I'm too tired. It's been a long, exhausting semester, so let's Google it. Okay, so according to Google, a woman is an adult female human being. That is, a mature female of our species. Doesn't that settle the matter? If you think it does, you may be thinking of dictionaries as laying down the law about the meanings of words. I know nothing about baseball, so let me switch to cricket as an example. So here are the laws of cricket as laid down by the Marylebone Cricket Club in London, the custodian of the worldwide laws of cricket. And if we look at law number 1, setting up the game, we find that a match is played between two sides, each of 11 players. Now, clearly there's no possibility that this could be wrong. The Marylebone Cricket Club could have made a mistake, and that really the laws of cricket specify that each side is of 10 players. No, whatever the Marylebone Cricket Club says goes. So if dictionaries are rather like that, setting down the laws of words like the laws of cricket, then there's no possibility that the dictionary is wrong about the definition of any word. But that would be to misconceive dictionaries entirely. They don't lay down the law, they're not prescriptive, they're entirely descriptive. The dictionary compilers try as best they can to record the meanings of words, and they can get it wrong. Okay, that's the first point. The second point is, well, you might reply, sure, the dictionary could get it wrong, but what reason do we have for thinking that it does get it wrong in this particular case? Is there any reason to think that the dictionary definition of woman is wrong, or at any rate, not completely right? Remember, now from long ago, when we were talking about knowledge, that we considered the question whether words could generally be defined. And in the case of knowledge, the best candidate for a definition is justified true belief. But we saw that does not appear to work, and so we ended with this question. But if knowledge can't be defined, why think that most or many words can be? And that opens up the possibility that the word woman is in the same boat as the word knowledge. The dictionary definition is obviously not completely wrong. Numerous women are adult female humans, and numerous adult female humans are women, but maybe it's no more than a rough approximation. We can reinforce the point by going back to Google and seeing what the definition is of other humdrum words, as it might be chair. According to Google, a chair is a separate seat for one person, typically with a back and 4 legs. Okay, a moment's thought will show you that this isn't quite the definition, the correct definition of chair. So for one thing, a bar stool might have a back and 4 legs and is a separate seat for one person, but is not a chair. And second, since chairs don't have to have a back and 4 legs, indeed I myself have a chair with no legs at all, this definition looks like it's, if you really took it seriously, it's going to count a toilet as a chair. The Google Dictionary and other dictionaries are hardly dispositive then, but they do at least suggest a biological theory of gender, namely, in the case of woman, this thesis that I've called W, S is a woman if and only if S is an adult female human. Or just spelling it out a bit more, necessarily S is a woman if and only if S is an adult female human. It's impossible to be the one without being the other. Similarly, in the case of man, S is a man if and only if S is an adult male human, and in the case of boy, S is a boy if and only if S is a juvenile male human, etc. Please read the footnote on this slide. Barnes starts by arguing against biological theories of gender. So this is her first argument against W, or theses like it. To begin with, she says, someone can be a woman without clearly being female. Some women, like Dina, for example, that's one of her characters, have a condition known as androgen insensitivity syndrome, or more accurately, complete androgen insensitivity syndrome. That's one of many conditions that can result in bodies that don't easily fit our classifications of male or female. Okay, that suggests the following argument. Premise 1, Dina is a woman. Premise 2, Dina is not clearly female. Exercise for you. Can we get from these two premises to the conclusion that W is false? If If not, what premises do we need? Here is a second argument against W, at least suggested by Barnes's paper. You can clearly be, Barnes says, a woman in the ways that matter to us socially, even if you're not classifiable as female. So that gives us this argument. Premise 1, Julia, say, is a woman in the ways that matter to us socially. Premise 2, Julia is not female. Exercise for you. Can we get from P1 and P2 to the conclusion that W is false? If not, what premises do we need? Having argued against biological theories of gender, Barnes then turns to social theories of gender, theories according to which gender is a social category, and she divides these up into two: gender externalists, those who say that your gender is determined primarily by how other people react to you, and gender internalists, those who say that your gender is determined primarily by your own internal sense of yourself. Now that formulation might not sound, the formulation of gender internalism might not sound very social, but it actually is. As she says, according to the gender internalist, gender is a matter of your internally felt sense of your relationship to the gender norms and categories that are common within our society. So, having made this distinction, Barnes takes them in turn and argues against each one. She takes Sally Haslanger's theory of gender, understood as a descriptive theory, not a normative theory, as a paradigm example of this kind of view. She gives some apparent counterexamples to Haslanger's theory, and in doing so, Barnes is raising what Haslanger calls, quoting from Haslanger's paper, the commonality problem, whether there is anything social that females have in common that could count as their gender. So here's one of Barnes's cases, the Amazons. We typically think of myths about Amazons as myths about a race of powerful women. But Haslanger's view has the curious result that these stories aren't really stories about women, since in the stories, Amazons are not oppressed and do not occupy disadvantaged social roles. We could put the general line of objection like this: you can twiddle how people react to other people as much as you like, but just doing that won't get rid of the women. Therefore, any kind of gender externalism is wrong. Turning now to gender internalism, Barnes puts it in terms of gender identity. If we say that gender is determined, at least in part, by gender identity, then we can say that you are a woman if and only if you identify as one. That is, S is a woman if and only if S identifies as a woman. But what is it to identify as a woman or a man? For the most part, Barnes writes, when philosophers talk about gender identity, they mean your internally felt sense of your relationship to the gender norms and categories that are common within our society. I already quoted that part. So if you identify as a woman, this typically means that the norms we have about women are appropriately applied to you. Importantly, this does not mean that you think those norms are themselves correct or appropriate. You may think that most of our norms and stereotypes about what women are like are wrong. You just think that people aren't making a categorical mistake when they classify you with other women and apply those norms to you as a result. Exercise for you is identifying as a woman different from believing that one is a woman. Could you identify as a woman without believing that you're one, or could you believe that you are one without identifying as one? Well, what's wrong with gender internalism? Again, Barnes gives some counterexamples, or apparent counterexamples. Many cognitively disabled women plausibly don't experience anything like an internally felt sense of their relationship to sex-based social norms. So whatever it is to identify as a woman, These women probably aren't in that internal state. And yet, it seems utterly wrong to say that cognitively disabled women are not women. Or, put slightly better, it seems utterly wrong to say that no women are cognitively disabled. Here's a variant of this sort of apparent counterexample. A woman might have been in a persistent vegetative state, and so not experience anything since puberty. So here's Barnes' rather pessimistic conclusion. We need a theory of gender, an account of what women and men are, but neither biological or social accounts, either externalist or internalist, are satisfactory. What we're left with, she says, is a lot of confusion.
Dad, what's all that smoke?
Griffin, I was recording a lecture. It's the fog of philosophical confusion surrounding gender, though I think it's clearing now. Anyway, there's a break next week. I'll see you after that.
You forgot to wish the students a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.